I'll be going over both the diction and syntax practice original document in this video and also the diction and syntax practice in the study guide. So to start here with this document, just a reminder, diction is the author or speaker's choice of words. So what are the actual words that they are choosing to use? And also what are the connotation of those words? That's a good thing to think about too. Syntax is the way that the words are joined together into the sentences. So it's zooming out a little bit and looking at how is the author putting together those words, what is the length of the sentences, things like that. So this top part here is diction practice. Again, you are looking at word choice here. And you're telling the difference between informal diction, so informal sounding words, and formal diction. You are highlighting in this example the informal diction yellow and the formal diction blue. So for this first example, we have, are you gonna drive to the store? And this is definitely informal diction. It's an informal way of speaking, so that should be yellow. Versus the second one, who among us will drive to the store? It sounds much more formal, so that is going to be blue. That is formal diction. The second example, I wanted you to play around with changing diction on your own this time. So you were taking a very informal sounding sentence and trying to change the underlined words to make it sound formal. So your original version was, I ain't gonna go to the mall. Ain't and gonna were both underlined. So you're looking for a way to change those and again, make this sound more formal. My example is, I am not going to go to the mall. That sounds a little bit more formal than the first version. So those are all examples of diction. Again, it's the choice of words that the author is deciding to use. For syntax down here, again, you are looking at the sentences this time. You're zooming out just a little bit. And I taught you guys about two different types of syntax in this assignment. So you have simple syntax, which would be short and uncomplicated sentences. You also have complex syntax, and those are longer sentences that are more complex and more complicated. So this first example, kind of like up above, you were highlighting simple, sentences with simple syntax, yellow, and sentences with complex syntax, blue. Your first example was this one. We arrived at the theater. There were many cars in the lot. So this should sound very short to you, to the point. The sentences aren't very long, so this would be yellow. This is simple syntax. The second example is different though. When we arrived at the theater, we saw dozens of cars in the lot and an excited crowd waiting online. So this is a much longer sentence. It's got a couple different phrases in it. So this is a sentence with complex syntax. It's got a little bit more going on than the first one does. So that is blue. Down here in this last example, I asked you again to do this on your own. So you were taking a sentence with very simple syntax. We went to the store and seeing if you could remix it a little bit to make it complex, to add to it. So this is personally how I did it, but there are many ways that you could. We, my family and I, decided to go to the store so we could buy some milk and eggs. So this is a more complicated sentence. It's got more complex syntax to it. So those are some examples of how you could have done this assignment. I would also like to look at the diction and syntax on your study guide here. And you just had 3 examples that you were looking at, this time from the story that we've been reading from The Doll's House. And all you needed to do was tell me for each of these sentences if the diction was informal or formal, and if the syntax was simple or complex. So this first sentence, not to stay to tea, of course, or to come traipsing through the house. This definitely should sound very formal to you, and it's supposed to. It's supposed to sound almost kind of stuck up. It's coming from one of the people in the story who's a little bit classist, a little bit into their high class status. So it is meant to sound very formal. And this also does have complex syntax. So it's a longer sentence. It's got multiple phrases in it, as you can tell by the commas. So it is more complicated. It's more complex. Second sentence is very short. Oh, ain't it lovely? This is informal. You can tell, especially because you have the word ain't in here. So that is put in there by the author on purpose to make the diction sound informal and to tell you something about the character who is saying that line. This is also simple syntax. It's a very short, uncomplicated sentence. And finally, we have this last sentence. Lena couldn't stand that. She put her hands on her hips. She shot forward. Yeah, your father's in prison, she hissed spitefully. Now, because of the dialogue in here, this is a more informal sentence. It's got informal diction, but it does have complex syntax. And the main reason is because you have a lot of different pieces here, and you have the author using a semicolon, so that makes it a little bit more complicated. But those are those study guide examples. If you want more practice with diction and syntax, please let me know. I can always provide that for you.